Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction here on Fightful.com. It is Tuesday, and I am with the Monday, Joe Hulbert. Joe, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm glad you made it clear to me that we were continuing. I didn't want to pull the curtain back, so I'm glad you did it. So yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna say concerned. That's too far. I'm anxious to see how this plays out. Interesting motion picture over the weekend, right, Jeremy? We've both experienced something in the last few days.
Yes, yes. Real quickly, let me get plugs out of the way here. Fightful.com, all your wrestling, MMA, boxing news that you can handle during this time. Sign up to FightfulSelect.com. Exclusive news, Sean had the transcript of what Vince McMahon said to everybody before Wednesday's big happenings. So if you want to know what Vince McMahon's mind state was like, you can listen to what he told all of his employees. So we have that up on Fightful Select. Other news bits, we have an interview with Mike Kanellis, Mike Bennett, dropping pretty soon. I think that's already on Fightful Select. That'll be on the site soon enough. And Alex Pulowski is reviewing the Big Show, where he probably just hates on everything. If you want to listen to our review of the Big Show, where we enjoyed everything, you can do that. We did that last week. Tuesday shows are now just branded movie, television reviews featuring wrestling, wrestlers in some kind of way. And that is what we are here to talk about today. The main event, Joe. Not the show that
Mhm.
I think airs on Hulu. I think.
Yeah.
Not that main event where Cedric Alexander still loses. The main event on Netflix. It's a WWE Films. Joe, what did you expect from this movie? Did you see the trailer for it?
No, I never watched the whole trailer. I just saw like enough to understand that there was going to be a kid with a mask. That was what I knew. I did not kind of sit and watch the trailer. I watched more of the Big Show trailer, so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into here. But I had a feeling. I will say it did actually fall short of the expectations I'd placed upon it, which was not particularly high. I'm going to be honest with you, Jeremy. They were not particularly high expectations. This one didn't hit for me, Jeremy. I'm going to be honest. We're going to get into that over the next few segments here, as which we delve into this film. But yeah, it was what I expected, just a worse, lesser version of it. That's my opening statement.
Essentially, the overall concept of this movie is a kid is a WWE fan. He gets picked on. He gets chased into this room. He finds this mask of a legendary wrestler, not Rey Mysterio, and he puts the mask on, and then he has superpowers.
Yes.
And he competes in this WWE NXT tournament. And there's a bunch of wrestlers who make cameos in this. We'll get into that, but he competes in this tournament, and doing a secret identity, double identity gimmick here. But his grandma finds out, his friends find out. We're spoiling everything, folks. Just
Yeah.
obviously, I've already ruined everything. If you are just now if you made it this far and you're like, wait, you just spoiled. There was no spoiler warning. I apologize. But that's the overall gimmick of this movie. I'm with you. I understand who it appealed to. It's just it was a very cliche thing, and I didn't even find like the bits that were supposed to be funny. Like they didn't really hit for me.
I'm surprised that you realised he was a wrestling fan. Did they spell that one out for you? Do you think you like wrestling, perhaps, mate? Not the wrestling, WWE. Sorry,
Yeah,
and
just
perhaps
WWE.
his family enjoyed WWE. I couldn't quite tell after the first 20 minutes in which they broke down every match Kofi Kingston had in the last year. I thought maybe this kid is a Kofi Kingston fan, which we'll get into the Kofi thing. I thought Kofi was going to play a much larger role in the in,
Kofi's no. Let's get into Kobe because this was my favorite note when I watched this. So the kid goes through and we're gonna be all over the place as if you can't tell. The kid goes through and he's in the main event of this NXT tournament, and it's a cage match. And the Miz is hosting this tournament, and Kofi joins the Miz in the press box, and they're greeting each other and stuff. Kofi's like, "Yeah, man, I never miss a cage match." Kofi hasn't watched a single second of this tournament. He didn't know who either of these guys were, but he's like, "It's a cage match. I gotta be there for this."
I have four notes, and the last one is never miss a cage
Yes,
match in
me
quote
too.
marks. It is one. It was a line that I think a normal person would get nothing from, but I just found hilarious the way that there was no humor to it, and he was just like, "Come on, you know that about me. Like, I never miss one of these things." Sheamus as the special guest referee, what a choice that was. I don't know. I don't know where to start with this, Jeremy. I mean, I'm going to dive into one element of it that I found. Firstly, did you notice, and this is very inside baseball, so your favourite character in the Big Show, Taylor Swift, right,
Yes.
was in this film. Did you know this, Jeremy?
I did not recognize that. No.
Okay.
Was he the class president?
He was one of the three heels that was being very mean to our protagonist.
Oh, it was a complete heel turn then.
Yes, and the thing that I found interesting was, normally in these films, you have the three kids or however many kids that are picking on the main character, and like no one is aware that they are this way. The principal is on these kids from scene one, right? Like she's like, they're at it again, I don't like them. And they're just job guys throughout, right? I mean, I have a note here, Jeremy, okay? And I said, this is what it says, okay? Subverted expectations, principal is aware of bullying. It was a compliment, okay? And then it is followed up by, the heels are simply job guys throughout. So I did want to delve into, I'm very disappointed you didn't notice Taylor Swift's return here, but they got nothing out of the Taylor Swift persona, right? There was no legs to this. These three kids just do nothing but lose throughout to the masked man and his pals.
They get hung up by their underwear on lockers, and they get in trouble for it. The principal's like, get in my office. They're like, we're the ones hanging up here.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really tough outing here, and I thought that was something. You know, I mean, there was a lot of things that were touched on here in this film that I have no memory of they had a conclusion, so you may need to help me. But, like, what was the dad's... you should probably explain his OR, because I don't know where he ended up.
Let's get into this.
Okay.
Because this completely took me out of the film. Just the absolute worst part of the film. Adam Pauly plays the dad, and like he's good. He's in a bunch of stuff that I enjoy. This arc though, first off, did you know the grandma was the grandma at first?
Yeah, because I didn't expect her to be, but there was an early line of dialogue that I made note of, because this is when I was doing the like paying attention thing. It surprised me too, though. And she's a big wrestling fan. Did you notice that, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Did you know she's a big wrestling fan? Okay, you did say that. Okay,
she tickles Leo to wake him up in the morning, and she says, "This is what Xavier does to Kofi to get him out of bed for a big match." I reached out to Xavier Woods to get this story confirmed. He has not gotten back to me.
Well, I think that's a confirmation, right? I think we can take that as a confirmation. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let you go on this dad thing. I didn't know what we were building to, and unless I've totally missed it, the payoff to it was an absolute just non-factor in every way.
So, I didn't realize it was the grandma at first. That finally got cleared up. The dad is just like out of the life. He's an Uber driver, and he works odd hours, and he works on his car and stuff, and he just seemingly doesn't pay like any attention to his son. And then at the end, he comes in the cage match and like helps him out, but it didn't really hit for me. The thing that didn't hit for me is like the mom not being there, and it's like the grandmother's daughter. She just like up and disappeared, and he's like, I can't talk to him about this stuff. I was so confused throughout this whole thing. I didn't know why it needed to be a thing.
Yeah, it was like, a lot of these films, they have like one element of the story that is there to convince you there's like an emotional like element to this. There's something deeper to be learned. But really, the dad redeems himself by just going back to some like pro wrestling advice that he told his son years ago, from what I can tell. So we should get into that. So the advice he has, I believe, and correct me here, Jeremy, but I think he says every wrestler has a weakness, correct?
Yeah.
And that proves pivotal. Boy, does it prove pivotal when he needs it most. Now, how that helps his journey as far as emotional trauma after his wife leaving him, I have no idea. But it makes his son much happier, if nothing else.
I thought Leo was a dick. I'm just going to say it. Okay. I thought this kid was a dick throughout the entire film. Like, when his dad tries to talk to him after
So mean.
After, first of all, so he gets his bike destroyed. He's hanging out. It's after this talent show that he misses because he's got to sign autographs because he's a WWE superstar now. And the grandma takes him and his friends to the talent show, or takes his friends to the talent show. He finds his way there, and he rides his bike. the grandma just leaves without him and leaves him stranded at the talent show. And then the heels, they break his bike and everything. So Leo comes back to his house and he's upset, and his dad tries to talk to him. And Leo's just like, nah, get out. Like, I'm not talking to you. Like, his dad was really trying to connect with him here, and he's just, shoving him off. Like, Leo was a complete dick throughout this movie, but this scene in particular, just the worst.
I was surprised it was so black and white with the mask when it came to Leo. I thought maybe perhaps. Now look, I don't want to go into the kind of writer's room here, Jeremy. Me and you are writers, so I thought we would kind of open up on this one a little bit of fantasy booking for you. I thought perhaps that maybe a way of doing this was the mask gives him the ability to be the best wrestler ever, but it takes away something of his personality. All it really did was just expose that he was a bit of a dick, as you say, because he was like, he had to, even when he was talking to the girl that became his girlfriend, I think she ended up being his girlfriend, or just a friend, right? Like, he needed the mask to even talk to her initially. I mean, this kid was really struggling without the mask, which I thought,
yeah,
it was kind of weak, Jeremy. I would like some kind of layers there. I must say, that disappointed me. I think, what if, Jeremy, I'm going to pitch some things here. Maybe we can get a sequel one day. You never do know. What if the mask took away his personality? Lucha guys aren't known to be great promos, Jeremy, right? Like, that's what I was thinking. I didn't like the fact that he had nothing without this mask, and he was still a dick with it.
I gathered that, like, the mask just gave him confidence, even when it was off.
Yeah.
Like, when he first put it on, because you're right, he couldn't talk to the girl, he had to go elsewhere and put it on, and then he could talk to her. And then, like, he started to have some confidence because of it. I guess because he felt he could hide behind the mask if things got too bad.
Oh.
But then things got real in his real life, and he couldn't. The mask got him in trouble. This is what we're missing here, Joe, that I've just now figured out and explained. The mask got him in trouble, and then he had to deal with this stuff in his real life. So it took away the confidence and just turned him to be mean because he was a dick with the mask on.
And that was symbolized in the match where he wins without the mask in the end, right? He doesn't need the mask anymore. However, that doesn't explain that. I don't think they needed to change his voice when he had the mask on. I understood it enough without doing that awful. I don't even know how to describe the voice, Jeremy, but it made me like
Batman voice.
I liked Leo a lot less after hearing the voice a lot. It was kind of draining. Now, I hate to hear this, Jeremy. I've gone through all my notes apart from one, and this is a big conversation I want to open up here. My other note was, it simply says NXT should be like this. AEW has no chance. Your thoughts?
I thought NXT was now like the big stage, because the first scene in the movie is Leo beating The Miz in a dream, and they do it at NXT. If you're this like big WWE super fan, as explained in the movie, shouldn't you be dreaming bigger than beating The Miz in an NXT match? Unless NXT becomes like the top thing and like WrestleMania is just replaced by NXT. So either Leo's not dreaming big enough, or NXT is really like the top thing in WWE, according to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually it's just a case of NXT he's a smart fan. Okay, NXT is his favorite brand. It reminds him of the golden days of Ring of Honor, Jeremy. And Miz is his least favorite wrestler because he comes in last on the star rating spreadsheet. So that's what I took it as. I understand what you're saying. But if NXT was just a like reality show in which people had legitimate fist fight, it was basically brawl for all. Brawl for all with a small child. I think it would be pretty much killing in the ratings right now. That was really I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, but that was my takeaway.
I mean, we pitched a Brawl for All nowadays. Apparently, Vince McMahon wanted to bring the Brawl for All back with NXT in its first season, which would have been amazing. So maybe this is how Vince got the Brawl for All back on WWE television. He's like, oh, we'll just turn it into this main event movie. You think Vince knows about this movie?
Absolutely not. No, he has no idea. I was interested. There was a chance to me that he may have seen some Big Show, but this is just such a it's a non-entity, right? There's no need for him to watch any of this. So you just spoke about the tournament. I spoke about the tournament too. How did you feel about the thing where superstars were in the tournament as other people? And like, it's a little bit odd because what was Otis? His name was Stinkface, I believe, right?
Yeah. And Keith Lee was Smooth Operator. And Babatunde, who is like the actual wrestler heel, he was Samson. So those were actual wrestlers in the film.
I mean, Babatunde makes sense because like he's a guy who they're still not like using on TV, basically,
Right.
right? I get it, but like Otis is in a major angle on their biggest show, so I just thought my thing was, I guess, and I don't want to overanalyze this element of it, but wouldn't it have? I assume there's some normal people watching this film, God forbid, but I'd imagine they're out there. Wouldn't it have helped Keith Lee and Otis more if they were Keith Lee and Otis and they came across like wrestling stars rather than these absolute
No.
lunatics?
Not
No.
not as these gimmicks they gave him. Like yes, if they just let them play Keith Lee and Otis, but they got Otis as a guy who just like farts. Like his name is Stinkface. Like that's
Yeah.
his name, and he does this big fart that pushes the kid back, and this is how he ends up losing because the kid hangs onto the ropes, and once the fart ends, he torpedo headbutts Otis. That's some CTE discussion right there, by the way. That's not safe at all. And Keith Lee was a dick too because they're dude, everybody in this movie is just the worst. Okay,
What did Keith Lee do?
listen. I'm gonna tell you. So was Sheamus. There was like everybody's the worst. Keith Lee was a dick because the heel manager puts this lubrication on the steps and it gets on Leo's feet as the
Yeah.
wrestler. It gets on his feet. Kid Chaos is his wrestling name, by the way. It gets on Kid Chaos's feet, so he's slipping all over the place, and he's like he falls into the audience and stuff. Keith Lee, who's supposed to be this nice guy, fair fight Keith Lee, instead of being like, yeah, let's wipe off your shoes and stuff. You know, let's hash this out. Let's make this an even playing field. He's like, gotta do what I gotta do, brother. Like I gotta beat you now. I thought Keith Lee and Kid Chaos had a friendship and things were gonna be fine, but no, Keith Lee was like, well, he's in trouble. He didn't do this. I didn't do this. Instead of making things even, I'm just still gonna try to beat him. So Keith Lee was a dick in this film.
Well, I thought it was interesting that. I mean, I don't agree with you. Okay, I think Keith Lee. They gave him enough motive with the 10 years of independent professional wrestling character arc that I understand you have to do whatever you can do to beat up a little kid. But I do think it was interesting. I mean, you mentioned Otis's finisher, and I want to stress the audience that was not like Jeremy's interpretation. That was literally what happened.
Yeah.
Like that is actually word for word exactly how I would describe it too. That's literally what happened. So I thought it was interesting that obviously it's explained to us that Kid Chaos, the mask gives him like super strength and speed and agility and stuff, right? But it felt like everyone in this tournament after that first round where he faced the guy with the what was the guy, the cowboy character? He beat him, and then Keith Lee or whatever his name was and Stinkface, they had like their own superpowers. This was like a tryout for the X-Men or something. I don't know where these people came from. Keith Lee was throwing Kid Chaos so high in the air. He wasn't just a normal person. I mean, all of these people had some kind of special ability, but we just haven't. Maybe that's set up for the sequel I was mentioning earlier. I'm not sure.
This was another complaint I had is they have the scene where they're at the diner and it comes in and gets robbed, and this is where he puts on the mask and like he prevents this like this kid is a real life superhero.
Yes.
He prevents this robbery and everything, and like he's just wrestling. In the
Yeah.
words of who was it? Oh, Sammy Callahan. He's like, why would a hacker be a wrestler? Why would this? What is Ricochet doing with his life right now? Why isn't he out here actually saving the world? They're calling Ricochet a real life superhero. He just does a bunch of cool flips and stuff. Go prevent a robbery, Ricochet.
True. I mean, I also think we have to go back to the Brawl for All comparison because the winner of this got them nothing again, right? No one got over here because the winner is too young to have a contract, and he just gives the contract to the guy he beat in the semi-final, which was Keith Lee. We end up back in square one. They had all these shoot fights. Sheamus got in the cage with this fellow, and there was no stars born here. They're gonna have to wait 10 years to get Kid Chaos back in the ring. This was a major misstep on a creative level too, which is perhaps the biggest insult you can throw at it, you know?
Here was why Sheamus was a dick as well, because
Oh,
they're in
no.
the cage. The Leo doesn't have his mask. He sees it's a kid, and he's just like nonchalantly telling Samson, "Hey, don't mess with him. He's a kid." And then Samson just like tosses him aside. I think he hit him with a chair, and then goes out. Like, Sheamus, what are you doing? Like, why weren't other people? Like, where was Kofi? Where were the Miz? Like, coming down there and be like, like, this is a small child. Like, what are you doing? We're going to be legally liable for this if something goes wrong.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of kind of safety precautions that were not taken, and I think someone should have stepped in before Kid Chaos even stepped in the ring. Right? Someone should have stepped in. He could have handed the mask over to his friend Keith Lee, that's name again has escaped me.
Smooth operator.
Okay, let's get into that. Why was he a singer? What was the situation with that, Jeremy? Why was that a thing that happened?
He was a failed singer, and that's why he's been on the wrestling scene for so long.
Wow, what a star gimmick they put on Keith Lee in this film. I just found it. I mean, obviously, look, you're right. Cliche is a word that you pair with these films a lot, right? It's not anything particular about this film that's cliche. I just found the execution of it all to just be so like, just nothing. There was nothing to this, man. There was no kind of. I don't know, I just didn't care throughout, and the smooth operator thing for me was like. Then I had to just start pondering why they had him doing this smooth operator gimmick. Why couldn't he have just been Keith Lee? I don't know. Who do we think is watching this film, Jeremy? I think is my actual question.
I guess kids. I mean, I can't imagine. Look, it's not for us. Obviously,
No.
it's not for us. But like the Big Show wasn't for us either, and we still found some enjoyment in that. This movie was just a mess. And as far as who's watching it, I guess kids, but even some of the stuff that was going on, it's like, I don't even see how this appeals to kids. Like, if you're a kid, why would you want to watch something like this over just watching Batman or Spider-Man or something?
Yeah, wrestling is a very hard line in these kind of things because it's like it's neither one or the other, right? Like by comparison of a real superhero story, it's lame. But a wrestling fan watches it and just like, oh my god, it's just awful. Like it's just too wacky, it's too over the top. So you really, to me, have just achieved nothing with this, Jeremy. That's that's my conclusion. You've achieved nothing.
So here's essentially who it appeals to, because it doesn't really appeal to wrestling fans. It does appeal to kids, but if you're a kid, like you kind of have to be into wrestling to enjoy this show. Like it can't just be, oh, I'm into superhero stuff, I'm into comic books to like enjoy this film. I don't think a fan of Superman is going to be like, oh yeah, this was a superhero origin story. Like you have to like wrestling because as Joe has pointed out, this particular kid and his family, at least his grandma, they love wrestling. They love WWE. So
yeah, I mean the references are unbearable. They are unbearable. Carry on, yes.
So here's who this appeals to. It's kids who love WWE. So if you look at the numbers, Joe, roughly 2.9 million, giving them way too much credit right now. 1.9 million watch WWE right now. That's everyone. You just look at kids. I would venture a guess of say 250,000 are watching this movie. Like of all the people in the world, maybe 250,000.
Wow. That seems very ominous. Mathematics from you, as well as your result.
And it spells disaster for the main event.
Yes, it really does. I want to get into the main event name as a choice from a range of reasons. I'm with you. I just watched it and didn't know, because we can't stress enough. Like as wrestling fans, we understand what these characters are talking about, but the first 20 minutes, how many times is WWE mentioned in this film? Like, it's insane, right? Like, could they have made it more obvious to us what we were watching? It was like full propaganda. He comes down in a Kofi Kingston shirt, and his grandmother greets him in a John Cena shirt. They're talking about watching Raw, which ends up being SmackDown, which is something that every wrestling film manages some kind of inaccuracy that's totally avoidable, which I always appreciate. I'm not saying it's a big deal, but all I'm saying is it's one word of dialogue that is so easily done correctly. I always find it amazing.
This is what I'm saying. It's a different universe. NXT is WrestleMania. SmackDown is now on Mondays. Raw might be off the air.
So the tournament he was in, are we saying that's not NXT TV?
No, it's some. This is like 30 years from now. They did have the clip of like New Day and the Usos, and the Usos are the tag team champions. So it gives you an idea of when this is supposed to be set. I just like to pretend it's 30 years from now. New Day and Usos are still in WWE. They're obviously still tag team champions. We know precedent off of that based on Goldberg. And NXT is WrestleMania. SmackDown's on Mondays. And Raw, they were talking about reruns. And then they realized, oh, the actual SmackDown is on.
Yeah, I just love that whole, like, the fact that they showed us the Usos and the New Day wrestling, and it's like, okay, that's pro wrestling, okay, I get it. And then the kid ends up having these kind of fist fights that just look nothing like the professional wrestling they're watching on TV. And I don't know what that's supposed to say. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to speak to how bad the guys in the tournament are, or it's more kind of credence to your theory that in this universe, the Usos and New Day are on like the C show, right? They're like they can't do any cool superhero stuff. They just do normal wrestling moves. So now as I kind of look at this picture, it's filling out, and I'm looking at it, and I can see what you're seeing, I think.
Was it just me? Because you mentioned the kid loves WWE. Maybe I'm misremembering.
He absolutely loves it. Jeremy, he loves WWE.
Didn't he?
Listen, he loves it. He loves WWE.
Didn't he bury the independents at one point? He's like, no, I don't watch that other stuff. He's like, I just watch WWE.
I have no memory of that. But there was talk at one point of one of his friends was like talking about a director.
Yes, I have this in my notes actually.
Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So they're WWE is coming to town because they're searching for a new whatever. There's not a lot of details. And his friend is like, yeah, WWE, they need a new, maybe they're searching for a new director. And I just took this as a heavy shot at Kevin Dunn. Like, that's all this could possibly be, was just a heavy shot at Kevin Dunn. Like, they need a new director.
Yeah, but doesn't then Leo say, like, it's Vince McMahon, duh? And I was like, okay, so Leo is like more aware of what's going on than them, but not all, because it is actually a legitimate fighting contest. So this is where I find WWE fascinating, because like the whole brand is about, like, they're an entertainment, right? They're sports entertainment, they're entertainment first and foremost. They go up for Emmys and all that good stuff. And it's like, here they are, like, this film for kids, it just is represented that this is just like Brawl for All, or the fighting tournament in No Holds Barred, which is another film we have to review at any cost. But yeah, I don't think they know how they want to present their own thing, basically. And the result is me as a wrestling fan being so confused as to what I'm actually watching here. As a small child, has legitimate fights with wrestling characters that don't wrestle, they fight people. Amazing.
I feel bad for Samson because he is afraid of heights, and they put him in a cage match. I didn't think this was a very fair contest, even if it was a little kid in there.
It is interesting, the cage match thing, right? Why the cage match?
Because Kofi, that's the only way they could get Kofi in this film, because he wasn't going to miss a cage match.
Well, I noticed that Kofi wasn't in the ring like afterwards, right? Like, he was the only one, I think, involved in this whole scene that wasn't in the ring. Like, Renee and Corey were in there when they took the big photo with the contract.
Look, Kofi doesn't care about winners and losers. He just wants to see the cage match. Once it's over, he's like, all right, I'm out. I got pancakes to cook.
Genuine question: has Kofi Kingston ever been in a cage match?
I do not know. Yeah, he's had to be, right? I'll look this up, but
okay, please do, because
he's had to be in a cage match.
It would be even better if he has never been, and that's why he loves them so much.
Yeah.
He's just in awe of the cage. Like, he can't believe guys actually do these matches, let alone little kids that admire him. You know.
What did you make of Renee Young wanting to see murder?
I thought Renee Young was great. I loved when she like took a shot at Corey Graves announcing. I assumed that was them two having fun, because it was always the other way around on TV, but I may be giving this way too much credit. But that was my take on it.
You're probably giving this way too much credit.
Yeah.
It's possible that this is what happened. I thought Renee was very good when she was like, we're going to see a murder here. Have you seen how small this kid is? He's going to get killed. And Graves is basically trying to smooth things over and be like, no one's gonna get killed and stuff. Renee just doesn't care. Like, maybe she's looking for an out, and that's why she's just going on television and saying these things. She's like, whatever, Moxley's got the money from AEW, I can go there if something happens here. I'll just say we're gonna murder somebody.
That's an interesting thought. What is AEW doing in this universe? Like, are they doing shoot fights as well? Are they doing sort of round robin tournaments with people that are not wrestlers? I don't know. It should be fascinating to find. I did want to ask you, has any big man ever done this actual scared of heights gimmick to this degree? Like, Drew Gulak did it amazingly well in 205, where he wasn't scared. He was just like aware of the danger of the top rope. And anytime he'd go up there, his legs would like shake and stuff. Has any big man pulled this off? Because if not, I think we now know what Babatunde is going to eventually be doing on NXT TV.
You know what's really bad, now that I've looked this answer? What's really bad about you asking, has Kofi ever had a cage match?
Oh, Dolph.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had a really cool finish right after a 45-minute match. Yeah, that's bad. That is bad. I'm gonna lie. That was very bad on our part. Is there any others?
He wrestled the Big Show in 2012. That was his last cage match before the Dolph cage match. And then he had a couple of, and that was it. That was the only two.
Should we talk about Dolph Ziggler being like suddenly becoming the hero of wrestling Twitter after 10 years of them just acting like he's the worst wrestler on earth? Can we talk about that quickly, Jeremy? Have you
Sure.
seen any of this? Have you followed this story?
Yeah. So
Incredible stuff, right?
he
PR spin here.
he wore a Hawkins and Ryder shirt on SmackDown, and then he's apparently buying a bunch of pro wrestling t-shirts to support all these guys. Dolph Ziggler, I don't remember if you said it on the show or off the show. I'm pretty sure it was off. But you were like, if Dolph Ziggler was in the 90s, we think of this guy as like an all-time great, like a Mr. Perfect type of just how good he was. But because he's wrestling today and he's on television every week and he's been around forever, we're just like, it's Dolph Ziggler again.
Yeah, he's genuinely a guy that suffered greatly from, like, because there was a time, people forget this now, and we're going to do a little history lesson here, Jeremy. We've discussed the Main Event, and please do bring me back to that film, and I want to talk about the name still. I still want to talk about the name because it's very interesting to me. But Dolph Ziggler is a guy who, like, before they had 101 workhorses, he basically was the workhorse of the company, right? Like, he was the in-ring guy at one time. I know it's crazy to think this now because they have so many guys that do that with NXT and stuff. But, like, he just kind of stood still, and they never went one way or the other with him. They'd sometimes would tease it and then pull him back. And eventually he ended up in a place where he was like the 100th least interesting guy on the show through no fault of his own. And I just think people totally misread Dolph as a talent. So I'm glad for him that, you know, he's just being a good guy and everyone's like, oh, maybe Dolph's good. Now me and you, we can express ourselves a little bit more freely, right? We can talk about this openly. Because I think you're right. I think I spoke about it off air last week.
Yeah, you mentioned like if he was just wrestling maybe a couple of squash matches, but just had these big matches against like Michaels and Brett and Perfect and Savage. Early 90s is essentially when we're talking.
Yeah.
Like we would just remember Dolph as on the level of those guys because his character is kind of all over the place. Like the showing off like stuff is not really fleshed out.
No.
But I think back then it would have been much better. And his in-ring work has always been good. It's just nowadays, and we looked this up too, like Austin in 98 did like 30 televised and pay-per-view matches. And Seth Rollins last year did like 56 television and pay-per-view matches. Like literally wrestling every single week and then some. And it's like, it's the same thing with Dolph Ziggler. He was wrestling and still is every single week to the point that you're just like, I don't care about this guy anymore.
Yeah, and he lost an awful lot.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, they took the whole, oh, he can lose and stay over and just run into the ground. They tested how far they could go with that, and they've got the answer now. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think he is a guy that suffers from that thing of, like, in-ring, I think he's a much better babyface, but his character as a babyface has never, ever been able to find any kind of, like lane to stay in. Does that make sense? Like, when I think of his best stuff, I guess it's kind of the Miz program where he put his career on the line. That was wonderful stuff. The Survivor series where he was told Survivor. But as a character, as a babyface, super far, right? Fired him on screen and then never did anything again. Great stuff. But I just think as a babyface, they never know what to do with him as a character. And then as a heel, he just bumps so great that he never, he just got beat up a bunch, right? And now he is where he is, obviously. It's credit to him he's still on TV, let's be fair about this. But I'm glad we did this little segment about Dolph, but now I'm going to go back because he's wrestled a lot on the Main Event. This was the Main Event, not Main Event. Correct, Jeremy? I'm right in saying that.
Yes.
I think this is a totally unnecessary final shot at the struggling B/C/D/E program that now is the Main Event. I want you to know, Jeremy, that in the UK, we respect Main Event. Okay, that thing airs pretty reasonably. I've watched many episodes with Alicia Fox and people like that, and I've had great fun with that show. There was no need for them to leave this kind of parting shot, a show that has served them well, in my view.
I did not see it as a shot at Main Event. You totally got me on that one. I just figured they named it this because why wouldn't they name it this? I don't have a great explanation of why they probably named it The Main Event other than, hey, it's the main event. Like, it's a wrestling term. Let's put it out there.
So the actual Main Event, I believe, the only time they've had an event called that was Andre and Hogan, I think, right? Like, the
Yeah, yeah,
famous,
yeah, yeah.
that was called the main event, right?
Yes.
Even more disrespectful in that case.
That,
Like,
yeah.
that's really kind of, to me now, you're starting to go on dangerous territory, I've got to say.
I mean, they had Saturday night's main event. Do you think
Yep.
they just like they realized they had the trademark for it, and they were like, let's put this trademark to use. Like it's got 40 years of history because the Hogan thing was God so long ago. It's just got like 40 years of history. Saturday night's main event, all that stuff. We got the show main event. Maybe this was their way instead of looking at it as a shot. Maybe this is their way to direct traffic to main event because people are going to be searching main event now and they're going to come along to the WWE show.
Okay, now I'm starting to come around to it. I mean, obviously I'm doing a bit here, but I was legit left kind of like, main event was actually an interesting name for this, right? Because I guess the main event in this film is like the cage match.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, it was a big event. I was wondering at one point if that was airing locally. That's what I was genuinely. I thought we'd gone back to the territories because he was like reaching out to one region, was he
Yeah.
not, Miz? That was interesting.
I'd never even heard of this place either.
No, I didn't know. I didn't want to come across like an ignorant Brit. I just had no idea what they were talking about in any way.
It was like the Largo Loop in Florida. Like it's just places, yeah, and they're doing this talent show, like this local thing for a WWE contract, like in this town. Wouldn't you go to California or New York or something and announce this like everywhere? It just seems to be, as you said, like a local commercial.
Now I'm thinking about this. This really is a different universe than the one we're currently living in, right? Because I mean, we know how it is. Like, guys get signed for a range of reasons right now. Maybe not right now, but in the last 5 years. Must be a different time altogether because, I mean, poor Smooth Operator, with his singing gimmick and his athleticism, he was just waiting for a talent contest to get his foot in the door. Like, were they not signing anyone through free agency, Jeremy? That's what I want to know. Who was the scouts at this time?
Do you think so? Because, as I've said, I think this universe is years down the line. Do you think that NXT essentially, Triple H wants to do NXT UK, he wants to do NXT Japan. Do you think he's essentially localized NXT? So we've got NXT Alabama and we've got NXT North Dakota, and they run these competitions in all of these states to sign new talent to fill out their state's NXT.
I mean, their actual idea is worse than the one that you just pitched. So sure, I'm all in on that. That works for me. Perhaps they can uncover some actual like raw talent rather than just signing everyone that's on a streaming service. But that's another argument for another day, right, Jeremy? As me and you both know. Yeah, that is an interesting thought. But then that kind of goes to, so is NXT the A show? Because you are right. Like, we can't. I want to know what Miz has done in NXT, or if his first ever NXT match took place in that young child's dream. That's what I actually would like to know.
I don't know if we're ever going to get an answer for that. No.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, I just thought it was hilarious. That's really my take. Just seeing Otis and Keith Lee playing more gimmicky gimmicks. Mia Yim was in this.
Yes.
Right? She went far, right? I'm pretty sure.
Did she have a name? Like,
no.
I don't recall her actually having.
No, I think if you, I'm going to rewatch this at some point, Jeremy. I'll get back to you. But I think if you freeze frame it when they were showing the bracket, you'd be able to figure it out, if that helps you any. But I don't think they said her name. But she went far. She made it to like the semi-finals, I think.
Yeah, because she faced Samson in the semifinals. So yeah, she did well for herself, but she didn't have a name. Just masked, or not even masked, just Invisible Mia Yim.
That's interesting. That means they're like pro intergender wrestling in this universe too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say for this universe is it is great to see the cage match treated with some importance and prestige. Too often that has been just a TV main event, a Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston blow-off that may have not even been the blow-off. Here it had real importance, right? We're talking about lives here, Jeremy. We're talking about a kid trying to win a contract that then he's going to give up to his friend that he's already beat. And we're talking about Samson, who's scared of heights. Who was Samson's manager? I'm not a film guy. I don't know if this is a famous fellow, but he was all in. Maybe he should get a contract after all.
He is. It's Ken Marino, I believe is his name. He's in a bunch of stuff. He was in Eastbound and Down
Okay.
with Danny McBride. But he plays like this kind of role a lot, just kind of like a smarmy, sort of selfish kind of guy. He was a dick as well because he knew that this was a kid underneath the mask, and he's like, I still got to move forward with this match. Like that was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, that rule that when he found out that Leo was a kid, I thought what was so. What happens is, let me explain. Let me set the table a little bit. So he's walking, I think, out of the building, and he's very concerned about Leo, this masked figure, or the Kid Chaos, I guess he knows him as.
Yeah.
And he sees Leo talking to his school friends and stuff without the mask on. He's like, it's a kid. So I'm sitting there trying to piece this thing together, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna go to like the office and be like, he is a child, guys. Like, what are we doing here? What he actually does is, I need to take the mask away from this kid and then let my Samson kill him. That's what he actually comes to conclude.
Yeah.
Because then what they do is they steal the mask, right? They switch it with another mask.
Yes.
That was, I mean, strategy-wise, that was a little bit flawed because it's established in the film from minute one that the mask has like a distinct smell. So I'm not sure if he just didn't realise this, Leo, when he put this new mask on. But there he was. Maybe it was explained. I'm honest. He had a new ring gear, right, for the final. That happened.
I think it's because Otis's stink face or stink face's fart ruined his sense of smell. And I think that's why he could not smell the mask that was the fake one.
Dude, I've got to say, the stink face thing was like, that was my cliff. Like, I was trotting along and I was doing okay. It is what it is. It's not for you, Joe. Enjoy it. Calm down. And then when the stink face bit, I was just like, oh, I don't even know where to go with this now. Like, what an incredible just direction to take. And it meant nothing in the film either. That's the thing that's amazing to me about it. It was just a weird quirk of Otis's character that meant nothing in the overall film. Amazing stuff, really. But I hope I'm sure some kid enjoyed it. But for me, it was like, okay, I actually am insane for watching this film.
I've been told many times that farts are funny. I think once you kind of reach our age, they don't have quite the same appeal. Maybe they do, but not in something like this. Like,
it's not just that. It's like it seemed to be something the audience had to just accept as part of the show, and like they were showing us the crowd like grimacing and stuff, and it wasn't just like a smell. We didn't make it clear. It wasn't a smell. It was like a force, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like a shield. It built around him.
Right. It's
and
a
just
smell
because of the mask,
and
he could withstand it, right? That was the only thing.
They showed the reverberations in like the air and everything, and subtle and nuanced storytelling here, so you can really get the picture of what's going on. But
yeah, was something.
It took me out of it as well. That and the mother running away, that whole unnecessary bit, I just had no time for it. What did you make of? So Otis blew off his friends because he had to sign autographs for everybody.
Did you mean to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You said Leo. Otis blew off his friends. I was like, missed that scene. Carry on.
Leo blew off his friends because he had to sign his autographs, and he's like not leaving until everyone gets an autograph. He was supposed to do this dance recital with his girlfriend / non-girlfriend. And then his other friend just steps up, and he's apparently, he knows all about dance and stuff. What did you make of this storyline, if anything?
Absolutely nothing. You could see it coming, right? Like every film, whether it's higher or the main event, it needs some form of dip. And everything was going great. So what was his dip going to be? And the angle was, as you pointed out, that the mask was kind of making him a dick. So what happened was he convinced his girlfriend, or just friend that was a girl, to do a dance recital, and he would do it with her, right? That was the only reason she agreed to do it. She's a good dancer, but she wasn't confident about it. They learn this whole thing. He doesn't make it, and then his pal steps in. I don't know what his pal's name was, Jeremy. I'm sorry, I can't go that far. As far as I know, he had like a few quirky lines of dialogue. There was nothing else really that I was supposed to know about this kid. And he just goes up and aces the dance. So it's like the dip of the film was just the dance recital going great, but like they just thought a little bit less of him as a friend, and then they let him off totally. There was not even any kind of like struggle in this, right? Until obviously the mask switcheroo, which we just discussed. But yes, I got nothing from it. I guess it gave that character something, but it meant nothing because I knew nothing about the kid.
This kid was a dick too, because they're at the lunch table, making peace and everything, and Leo is apologizing. And the kid just is like constantly reminding him, yeah, I'm a good dancer. Like, all right,
Yes.
dude, we get it. You don't have to keep repeating yourself. That's his
So
gimmick, I guess.
did you like one character in the whole film?
Renee Young. I loved Renee
Yes.
Young.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think you're harsh on Smooth Operator. I think you have to realise what this meant to his career. He couldn't do the favours for a masked man that was 3 foot tall. I'm sorry, he couldn't do that, but he ended up doing it anyway. So it is what it is. But I'm with you. I mean, who was the third kid? Was the one who had like the line about "I just don't know anything about my friends." And I was like, I guess that's his whole character. I'm
That
with
was
you. I
the,
don't
that
like
was
any
the
of
kid.
them. I don't like any of them, Jeremy. I'm going to say I don't like any of them.
The third friend was the friend who had the shot at Kevin Dunn. So that was him.
True.
The girlfriend, she didn't do anything that was dickish, I don't
True.
think.
No, she deserved better actually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she was very nice to just be like, okay, I'll let you off because your friend was a good dancer, so it didn't mean anything that you was a dick.
Right.
I'm with you. Yeah. So her and Renee Young kind of led the charge here as far as morality goes.
Maybe this is a women's empowerment film, and we're just now figuring this out.
I don't think you need to say maybe when you see Mia Yim going to the semi-final of the shoot tournament. I think it was very much that. I think what happened was perhaps maybe the cutting room floor that we talk about, Jeremy, perhaps there was some stuff left out of Mia's kind of ascension, right? And that would have maybe tied it together more. But I'm with you. I think that's what this was now that we've sat back and looked at it as a piece of an actual art, right? Like an actual completed piece of art. I think it had a point to be made here. And maybe we're the only guys that will get that point, but we still got it, right? And that's what matters at the end of the day.
This is the real subtle and nuanced storytelling that WWE, that they're known for. I mean,
Yes.
you've really got to talk about it, break it down, explore it from all angles to really get it.
I have another
okay.
part of this angle. So we spoke about the dad. Maybe the point of the dad angle was if your husband is being a great big loser, leave him. Maybe that was the thing that we missed in that, Jeremy. I don't know. Maybe that was the point of that whole thing because we certainly didn't get anything out of it from the dad's point of view. So maybe it was just showing, hey, look, you don't have to stick around when the guy's just playing with his car all day and kind of telling his kid about wrestling tactics. Maybe that was the point. I'm not sure.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't go further with this. I can't believe this was 47 minutes of breaking down this film that combined we had about 10 notations for, and I think 2 of them were the same.
Yeah, and look, I understand. There's someone's inevitably going to reach out to us and be like, guys, you can't opt to review stuff like this and expect it to be anything better than what this was. And to that person, I want to just say, you are correct. You are 100% right. But I do think there is something you said. Me and you are pretty silly guys. We wanted to enjoy this, right? I think that's fair to say. We wanted to get something out of it. I mean, there was elements of it that popped me. I did like, I should mention, you kind of brought it up, but him like stopping actual crime and like facing a man who had a gun, I believe, right? Like, wow, that was pretty courageous. That was outlandish for what this film was for the rest of the time. Keith Lee was good, right? I guess maybe, I don't know. He was singing, he was having fun, so I got enjoyment out of that. But yes, for the most part, this actually fell short of my very, very low expectations, which seems like an indictment, I think.
Keith Lee better hope Vince McMahon never watches this film, because he's just going to be a singer the rest of his career. If Otis starts farting during this Mandy storyline, we're all in trouble.
I mean, for me, that would be like the ultimate, just when it appears this angle has some use and he's actually getting people over, that would be the ultimate turn, right? That would be like, of course, that's where things would go after an actual good promo segment this caused. Yeah, I actually expect it at this point, to be honest. Someone's going to see it and pitch it, and away we go. That's inevitable.
I like your gimmick that Babatunde can just be afraid of heights. We need a good big man that's just like afraid of heights and it tries to ground his opponent and doesn't want to do any of that flippy stuff.
I feel like that's got to have been a thing, because Andre was scared of the snake, which was awesome stuff, right? Like, he's absolute terror. Yokozuna, I believe, was just scared of the Undertaker, which I'm not sure was a gimmick. I think everyone was scared of the Undertaker, but it still ruled. Someone's probably done it. We're probably being very silly here and missing one, but I agree it was awesome, and he was really going for it with the cell, right? Like, it was not just a tremble. He was terrified, bless him. And the manager was like trying to hide the fact that he was. I must say, you know, the like draft combine where they did like just general, they wanted to see how good of athletes they were and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Kid Chaos leapt from one corner of the ring to the other. Like, I feel like he should have got a contract then and there, right? Like, I don't think he should be like, okay, now enter the 32-man bracket. But that's how it is. Equality, you gotta love it. Everyone gets an equal opportunity in WWF.
You've gotta earn your shot. You can't just all right because you can jump from one ring post to the next across, not even across the ring. He went full way caddy corner with the ring. It doesn't matter. You gotta beat guys, Joe. It's like that would have been like handing the Brawl for All to Dr. Death just because, well, this is the guy we actually want to push, but you know, we got to make him earn it.
True. I mean, I did want to ask, so we mentioned earlier, we spoke a lot about who this film is for. Am I misreading like the fame of pro wrestlers? I know that we said about how many wrestling references there are, but like that whole Kofi Xavier Woods stuff, and like that's just totally lost on normal people, right? Like they're not actually famous to that degree, right? We are assuming this is just wrestling fans watching this film. I have to guess because I was wondering if it was a Brit thing, and I was like, maybe in America people are like, oh yeah, of course, the New Day. I don't know. Am I right in saying that this is very niche, using all them wrestling references?
Look, I told you this film is just for children who are wrestling fans. So a quarter
Yeah, there's
of a
no
million
crossover,
people. Yeah.
right?
No, no,
Like,
no.
there's no one that's like, of course. Like, I don't watch a lot of wrestling, but I remember the Usos feud with the New Day. Come on, like it wasn't that kind of situation I was missing here. Like we are right in saying this is very much know what you're getting into here. If you're watching this and you have kids, firstly, you should not watch a distraction if you have children. You have better things to do, okay? Click, give us the view and get off the thing. But if you are, ensure they have at least studied at least a decade of the industry, because otherwise I think the whole thing will be lost on them.
Yeah, I couldn't show this to my little cousin and be like, "What do you think of this?" and expect them to know, "Oh yeah, Kofi Kingston, hear about him all the time in the news," and things
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
Like it's not gonna happen. She's not gonna have any idea who any of these people are.
Yeah, that was kind of my perception of it too. But I didn't want to leap in and say that. I'm glad you did it for me. But I guess it's cool that the New Day were like the heroes of this kid. Like that's kind of cool, right? It could have been Triple H. I would have hated this film even more. They could have been watching Triple H versus Roman, and I'd have been like, oh god, this is the end.
Do you think Triple H has ever missed a cage match?
I think he's missed cage matches he was in. That's how much. That's how much he. I'm pretty sure I see Triple H have a cage match, and like the level of effort that man could produce in the cage, I think he missed that match, even though he was in the ring physically performing a cage match. So yes, he's missed many, many cage, including the one that Kofi had with Dolph. Triple H missed that. Okay, I'm going to tell you that much now. He missed it.
Anything else on this fantastic piece of art that everybody can go watch now on Netflix?
Absolutely nothing. Not another word will come out of my mouth about this. I don't resent the fact that we watched it. I do regret it somewhat. I think this will be a good kind of marker though, because while it's not like offensively bad, I think we'll enjoy every wrestling film / program we watch after this. I think more than we enjoyed this, because there's just nothing here, right? There's no meat on this bone. How we spoke about it for as long as we did, I have no clue. But that is my closing statement, Jeremy.
All right. I enjoyed that we watched it just because we got to do this podcast, and I need something like this in my life right now because the actual wrestling is what it is right now.
Yeah.
So watching a nonsensical film that we can come up with fun theories about, that's the entertainment for me, Joe.
Yeah, and we spoke about Dolph Ziggler for like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're here for hard-hitting wrestling analysis, you got something, right? You got the opening match, I guess, in there somewhere. So, yeah, we covered a lot of ground. I don't know if any of it was actual, like, film review, but we tried our best, right? We had fun with this, but we will, I think, need to up the ante. I think we're going to go a little bit more hardcore with the next film, Jeremy. I think we're going to go with something a bit edgier. You know how much I love edge, right? I think we're going to go kind of an action thriller from the illustrious WWF studios.
Are you just going to make the announcement right now?
No, I have no announcement. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I'm just saying something in that vein.
All right.
I assume there's like 100 films that fit the description I just give. So any of them, I'm in, but not one more of these, please.
I think this podcast and watching this film and reviewing it was necessary because now people who haven't watched it, people who are wrestling fans like us, and we're probably like, I'm not watching this, they can watch it with a new set of eyes and really understand what this film is all about. And I think that's a service we provided to everybody.
Good point. And with that in mind, I am still off like accepting offers of money in my DM. So if you would like this kind of analysis of any other film, any other piece of television, music, any kind of art, okay, I will accept offers. So just I wanted to make it clear because you are right. We are doing something here for the community of professional wrestling fans, right? So yeah, I'm glad you kind of tied things up in a bow there for us, Jeremy, because it is clear. We want to make it clear. We're not doing this for us, are we, Jeremy? Under any, we're doing this for you, the people. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do a service, and boy, did we do that much today.
Smiles on faces and minds that are more open. That's our tagline. We might only get sued for half of that.
I mean, they've ripped off everything we've done, so we owe them one. Right? We owe them one. Woj is ripping us off. Everyone's taking our stuff. Give us some now. We're going to take now. This next week's episode is called The Main Event. I'm announcing it now. It's The Main Event from now on, Jeremy. It's a distraction, but it's called The Main Event.
We'll be back on Thursday with our usual wrestling talk on whatever's going on. Joe's very excited for this.
Oh, no. We've got to talk about the wrestling shows. That means I have to watch the wrestling shows, right? That's not good. Okay. Fine. I mean, I'll be there. I promise.
You didn't enjoy anything from Raw last night?
No, I didn't. No, the worst thing is, my brain legitimately was like, Raw last night. Did I enjoy it? Anyway, yeah, that's the conversation for Thursday, right?
We'll talk about the wrestling stuff on Thursday. This weekend, as I mentioned last week, we were going to do a WWE kind of My League type thing that we scrapped because it just didn't seem right after everything that happened last week. We are going to do the TWE series. The demo for TEW 2020 comes out this Thursday, I believe, the 23rd, and then the full release is the 30th. So the gimmick we're going to run, instead of doing the Monday Night Wars, we're not going to do that. We're going to do nowadays wrestling with Raw and SmackDown, but each of us will be able to pick 5 wrestlers from the past to drop into today's world. So that's what we're going to be doing once the full game gets released and we can get it edited. But we're going to have essentially a little preview type deal this weekend and next weekend to where we announce our picks, kind of just talk about the universe, and it'll be sort of like our My League thing. We'll probably drop sort of what we were doing with our My League. We'll discuss that as well. So it's essentially just a TEW series preview for the next couple of weeks until we can actually dive into the game. And we're bringing back the TEW series that people seem to enjoy because I was booking the Goon as the world champion.
Well, that was my question, Jeremy. Is the Goon one of the illustrious 5 picks? That's the big question.
You got to find out on the preview series, Joe. I'm not going to give that away right now.
That's the right answer. And that's why we're good at radio, Jeremy, because we leave them wanting more.
Joe, where can the people find you?
They shouldn't. They just find me on Twitter, Joe Hulbert 5. I've started reading the Bret Hart book. I may tweet about that. That's as much wrestling as you'll get from me.
All right. The Bret Hart book. I haven't read it in a while, but it's very good.
It's a big fella.
Yeah.
It's a big fella. It's a little bit daunting, I'm not going to lie. But as a broadcast journalist, Jeremy, I feel I owe it to the industry, right? I should read the book.
There you go. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Lambert88, Fightful.com, wrestling, MMA, boxing, FightfulSelect.com. Sign up so I can afford a haircut. And Joe can afford a haircut as well, but he's less anxious to get one than me. Sign up to Fightful Select, news, extra audio, and we will talk to everybody on Thursday.